here. So I would like to thank all of you for your support in the entire LearnFest 2023. It has been an excellent week throughout. We started with Microsoft Excel, then we did email communication skills with Catherine. We did Power BI with Maneed. We did financial wellness program with Ali, and now John with EQ for HR leaders, and then Asad with Agile project management. So by taking the names, I feel privileged to thank all of them. I'm also thankful to our partners, Terabase and the group CEO, Hamza Hashmi. I wish he was here for the inaugural session of this program. I will not take a lot of time. I think John has a lot to share with the HR leaders on emotional intelligence. So John, all over to you, and we can formally start.
Okay, thank you, Kazi. Thank you and welcome everybody. This session is indeed all about emotional intelligence. It's a very, very high level look because we've only got an hour. So the high level introduction to EQ or emotional intelligence or EI. It means more or less the same thing. It's not quite the same, but the terms are interchangeable, EI and EQ. And it's specifically this session anyway for HR leaders, because all of you who are HR leaders out there, it's extremely important for us to start understanding more and more about emotional intelligence. And I'm sure that many of you already do. So here's a thought actually for you, just to start off. Emotions drive people, and people drive performance. Now, I want you to think about that. Emotions drive people. People drive performance, because this is the heart of performance. This is the heart of success. This is the heart of essentially what we're going to be talking about today at this high level, emotional intelligence. Think about that. We'll come back to that later on. Okay. So, as Kazi said, my name is John Bentley, and I'm just putting up some of these names up here. This is because I work very closely, well, actually, both Catherine and I work very closely with an organization called 6 Seconds. They are the premier, the leading emotional intelligence neuroscience network in the world. They are in most countries in the world. I also work with the Neuro Leadership Institute, which is where I did all my coaching, qualifications, etc., certifications. And then there's a whole lot of other things up here, which we do as assessors and leadership facilitators. Everything we do is ICF, International Coaching Federation accredited. I just want to say that for all you HR leaders out there, I got involved in this. I used to work for both, well, for IBM, Hitachi, and also latterly HP, where I ran the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and the Africa region from Dubai. And it was in HP that I mainly got involved with the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership. And that was largely because our HR group and our training and development group was so clued into this. And I'm going back 15 years now, so they were pretty advanced in this. And they could see the benefit. And indeed, when I started to get involved in it, I could also see the benefit, which is why later on I decided to specialize in this, which is what I now do. Can you mute yourselves, please? Thank you. Okay, so that's me, and I've been involved in this now for mute everybody. Yeah, I've been involved in this now for the past almost coming up 14 years, and so specifically for leadership and high potential leaders. Okay, Catherine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Catherine Bentley. Essentially, I'm here as a support facilitator today. I may have met some of you online on Monday when I ran the email writing essentials program on Monday. I enjoyed it so much, I wanted to come back for a second go at meeting with you all. So I'm here essentially to support John today. Whilst emotional intelligence isn't my primary speciality, I am EQ certified, and I do look to involving emotional intelligence in all the communications programs that I run. Essentially, my specialty is around communications, but there is an emotional intelligence thread running through all of that. As John said, emotions drive people, people drive performance, and a key part of that is communication. So it is therefore vital that emotional intelligence forms part of everything that I do as well. So happy to be here to support John in the facilitation today.
Okay, so what are we going to cover? Very high level. We're going to have a quick look at what kind of world we live in, because this is absolutely fundamental to our understanding of the need for greater and higher emotional intelligence. We're going to look at something called the Barney world. Catherine will take you through that. Then we'll talk about what exactly emotional intelligence is, very high level. And then why is it important? What have we found? And this is, by the way, hot off the press, business case for emotional intelligence. We'll come into that. And then I'm going to talk to you about one model, which is the 6 seconds EQ model of know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself. Now, normally this is a long session, it's a day session, but this is just a very much an introduction and to give you a flavor for what it actually means. Okay, so let me ask Catherine then to explain to you a little bit about what on earth is a Barney world. Catherine?
Okay, thank you. So this is about thinking about context, what kind of world we are all living, working in. So 2023, the aftermath of the pandemic and the world that we're living in right now. Now, I'm sure that many of you will have heard the term VUCA, the VUCA world. And up until probably a couple of years ago, this was the context that we identified, and this is the context that we believe we were operating in, the VUCA world, where things are volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And this was pretty challenging as it stood then, the VUCA world. All of that has been actually moved up a level. And now the belief is that the world we live in can be characterized by this kind of term, this kind of logo, Barney world. What does Barney mean? Barney means brittle, anxious, non-linear, incomprehensible. So VUCA, move over, and here is Barney. And this concept was actually created by a gentleman of the name of Jaime Cascio, an American anthropologist, author. And he's going to just share with you a little video clip now to share with you a little bit of background in terms of this Barney world. So I'm hoping that everybody will be able to see and hear this video. Take a look at what Jaime Cascio says about the Barney world.
I'm sure that you have heard about VUCA so many times. This was an expression coined by the US Army in the 80s. And it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And this was what we were living before the pandemic arrived. This was the reality that was already volatile, uncertain. And why they coined that? Because that was to prepare the army or the frontliners that used to go to Iraq and to Azerbaijan, to Afghanistan, to fight in a territory that they cannot predict much. But the pandemic brought us a new reality. We noticed that the world is not only VUCA, but it became bunny, brittle, so it's very fragile. You can notice that the structures, even their organization, corporation, and we believed that we were so strong, we faced the reality of mass catastrophe, mass virus impacting the whole pandemic, impacting the whole world, and showing how fragile what we believed that were strong, even our own lives can be. That brought as well the A from Bunny, anxiety, and this is one of the biggest issues and concerns in the world. Japan is the #1 in the world, Brazil is the #2 in the world, and I'm sure that the list is showing that this combination of home work and this virtual work and brought a lot of anxiety. The stay at home, the lockdowns, they were facing the economy challenges, the number of layoffs and the unemployment rate going up. For sure, this brings anxiety. So it's not surprising for me to see that what the world and the company needs now is really to invest in the soft side that I always call the power side, the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, because this is what will make the difference between keeping the employees and the task force engaged and those that are really burning out because of the anxiety. Non-linearity, again, in the past, you could say that it's difficult to predict, or you needed to structure in a way to avoid. Nowadays, we see that it's really not difficult, it's impossible to predict.
Catherine, please unmute yourself.
And the last one in this bunny is incomprehensible. You cannot understand. So it doesn't matter if you have the amount of data, the big data, it shows you that you don't have the knowledge to understand what is not linear, what is not that you cannot predict anymore. So this is showing that doesn't matter the amount of data, you might not have the insight. What tells me, and I think this is, you need to learn how to play a game, that the rules are changing during the game. They don't not even wait the game to finish or to have a half time, or it's moving so fast. And you need to manage not a difficult situation, you need to manage chaos, because the situation is chaotic. You see now that we are having logistics facing problems in strong economies, that they don't have supply, they don't have the shipment, the companies and the containers. So this is impacting the whole world, and it's very difficult to predict. So my recommendation how to handle this bunny and this evolution from VUCA to bunny is really, you really need to invest more time in your soft skills, in your emotional intelligence, because you cannot predict what will happen. This is the only way, in my view, that you need to keep your employees or your family members or your friends engaged and believing in a purpose of the organization, of your own life purpose, in order to keep going ahead, moving ahead, despite the scenario that you face.
Okay, so that's a little bit of background on Barney, and James Cassio is quite an authority on this. He advises governments as well. Not a single country in the world is escaping Barney right now. And if anybody saw the IMF predictions yesterday that came out, you'll see even the UK is actually at the bottom of the list in terms of growth and everything else. And this is affecting our stress levels significantly. So what James is saying is that the real truth in this is that we have to understand this. There's nothing we can do about it other than manage it. And to manage this correctly, we need to manage and understand ourselves. That's what we start with. And that is the foundation of that, the foundation now of adaptive leadership, about situational leadership. And we're moving now to something called resonant leadership. All of that. The bottom line, the basis of it is emotional intelligence. So let's just have a look and see, just quickly have a quick look and see, have a look at your stress levels. Catherine.
Okay, so we're going to be just finding out over the next couple of minutes where you are in all this right now, where your stress levels are. So what we need you to do, please just take a piece of paper and a pen. That's all you need, piece of paper and a pen. And we're just going to do this very quickly. This is very high level. Yeah. But sometimes we run these courses over 1 or 2 days. So we've got longer to do that. We just got a little bit of time today. So we're just going to take a high level view as to where your stress levels are right now. So with your pen and paper, we've got here a quick 3-minute self-assessment to see where you are now. So what I want you to do is think about these questions. Do you frequently, and we've got a number of questions there. First one, for example, do you frequently fail to plan the best way to organize things? Yeah, and I want you to make a mark whether you'd answer yes or no for each of these. Yeah, we're going to give you 3 minutes to do this, and let's see what this might indicate about your stress levels.
And there's no pressure here. You've got to be as objective as you can. We don't want to know the answers, what your answers are.
John, the screen is very small, so we need to zoom in a little bit so that we can read it actually.
Not sure we can.
Yeah.
Not sure. Can people see this?
Why is the screen small?
Don't know. No idea. Okay.
Great.
What we can do, we'll read it. Yeah. So rather than me setting the musical timer, I'll read each of these and just make a note whether you'd say yes or no to each one. Okay. That's probably the best way around in case you can't read the screen. Okay. So get your pens at the ready. Do you frequently fail to plan the best way to organize things? Just make a note, yes or no. Do you frequently procrastinate? That means take time to make a decision rather than acting swiftly. Yes or no? Do you frequently multitask? Next one, do you frequently seek unrealistic goals? Do you frequently work without clear goals? Yes or no? Do you frequently, taking away my screen there, do you frequently fail to delegate and try and complete most tasks yourselves? Do you frequently miss deadlines? Do you frequently defer unpleasant tasks until later? Do you frequently have difficulty making decisions? Do you frequently complain you're disorganized? I wish I was more organized. Do you frequently neglect to consider the consequences of your actions when prioritizing tasks? Do you frequently fail to use a rational prioritization method? Do you frequently avoid saying no to additional workloads which are causing you stress? And the last one, do you frequently react on impulse to situations rather than responding with intent? Okay, so what we need you to do now.
And Catherine, the sharing is stopped.
Okay, I'm not sure why that's the case. All right, let's just see why that would be the case. So you will be able to see the questions again. 1 second, please. Let's come out of there and let's go back into here. You should be able to see it now, guys. Yeah, I'm just going to open it up onto full screen. So we should be able to see. It's not letting me do that. 1 second. Are you able to see my screen now, guys? You should be able to see the questions there. To recap, yeah? Can we see them?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll just give you a couple of seconds to finalize your answers. What we're looking for you to do is to tick the number of times you've answered yes. Yeah, so if you can see the screen now with the number of times you've ticked the red boxes.
Add them up. Add up the yeses.
Total, yeah. We're not asking you for you to share this, so don't worry. Purely for your own benefit. Okay, so if we've got a total number there, all right, we're going to ask you now to think about which of these categories you fall into. If you ticked between 0 and 6 of the red boxes, you seem to be avoiding many of the behaviours associated with high levels of stress. not to say that sometimes you might feel a little bit stressed, but you seem to be avoiding many behaviours associated with very high levels of stress. And you probably feel more in control of your time, schedules and emotions. Okay, if you ticked between 6 and 9 of the red boxes, well, yeah, we're moving into a situation now where you're not always in control of your levels of stress. Some days better than others. But you can identify probably many occasions where you're not in control of stress and it feels like it's taking you over. If you tick between 10 and 14, danger zone really. Your current levels of stress are likely to be causing you more stress and affecting your performance and relationships. So that's just a very, very quick high level view of where you are right now.
Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for doing this is because the time that you need to be practicing your emotional intelligence is when you are stressed. That's when, I mean, you need it all the time, but the time which is most important is when you are stressed. Very difficult to do. Easy to say, but not that easy to do. So I'm going to ask you another question now. Remember, I talked about, I mentioned the emotions drive people. People drive performance, or people drive business. So, question. I'd like you all to think about this. What percentage of your decisions do you think are based on emotion? What percentage of your decisions do you think you make based on emotion? Okay. Now we're going to put a poll up here again. Think about that. What percentage of your decisions do you feel are based on emotion? Okay.
The poll, you should see a poll in front of you now. It's asking you that question. What percentage of your decisions do you think are based on emotion? 25%, 50%, 80 to 85%, or 99%. So just tick one of those boxes that you believe to be the most accurate number there, and hit the submit button. Let's get a feel for what the group thinks about this.
And by the way, people generally answer this in so very many different ways. So it's an interesting exercise to do this. Okay, what are we getting?
Okay, let's just see. We've got 39 responses. Anybody else?
Come on, everybody. Only 39. Come on, answer the questions.
So nobody at the moment is saying 99%. Nobody's saying 99.
No, but it's interesting that we're hovering around the 50% mark,
yeah.
I think.
People are playing safe.
How many more? How many people have 66? There's a lot more yet.
Yeah.
Just have a think about that. What percentage of your decisions are based on emotion, do you think?
Okay, we call it
73.
73. A few more seconds. 75.
Yeah, we're getting them in. They're coming in. Keep responding. Okay. We see something, I think, in the chat here. 35, 50, 50. If you can't answer the polls, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody, FF has answered 80.
80,
That's the highest so far.
80,
oh, no, yeah,
80,
FF.
80.
Oh, no.
50, 30.
80. Yeah.
Okay, and on the poll, what we're seeing, we'll draw that we've got nearly 80 there. So we've got 25% think 25%. So a quarter of the group is saying 25%. Yeah, let's just get that done. Okay, so 50% of the group think, sorry, 49% think 50%. Just 26% of the group think 80 to 85%, and nobody's saying 99%. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's take it back to the presentation.
Okay. Now this is going to surprise you probably,
Question.
or some of you anyway, because the reality is, okay, it's 80 to 85%.
No, somebody put you on mute. Catherine, you are on mute. I think somebody pressed the mute all button.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we got it.
Okay, let's just get this back up here.
So just to repeat that, the answer is 80 to 85% of decisions are based on emotion. This is from several people's research, but 6 seconds are the main protagonists of this. They've been doing this for over 30 years, and it's always the same. Even when we run workshops, and by the way, we've done that. I know many of you are in Pakistan. We've done that in Pakistan as well. And we'll do an exercise in a minute where which I will comment about, a lady in Pakistan, but certainly 80 to 85%. So the question is this: if we do not understand what sort of emotions are driving us, what kind of decisions are we making? Okay, and that's not to say that we must discard emotions. Quite the contrary. We have to be aware of our emotions. That's why self-awareness is so important. We have to be aware of that so that we can actually understand how we're feeling, what we're doing, so that we can ultimately make the optimum decision. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so let's ask the question. We know that we need emotional intelligence. If emotions drive people, people drive performance. We know that so many of our decisions are based on emotion. We need emotional intelligence. But let's just stop and think about what really is emotional intelligence. Some people might have had the opportunity to look at this in depth already, great. Others maybe not so. But we want to just stop now and ask the group, what does emotional intelligence mean to you? What does it mean to you? So let's just ask people if they could please respond on the chat. What does it mean to you? How would you define it? How would you describe it? Okay, so we've got ability to respond rather than react. Excellent. Ability to recognize and regulate emotions. Absolutely. Understand others' feelings and emotions.
That's a very important one.
Excellent. Yeah. Being logical. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Come back to that.
Jamelia, that's a very good question.
Yeah. Putting yourselves in the other person's shoes. That's certainly one very, very important emotional intelligence competency. Keep a check on your emotions. Yeah. Being in the shoes of others, staying calm and composed. How do you control your emotions for making decisions, understanding people and responding? We've got a lot of good stuff here, guys. Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is having the right feeling and proper reaction at a given time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Coming in thick and fast. Understanding of it's great so
others,
emotion. Yeah. Controlling yourself, decision making without using the human touch.
Nice.
Excellent.
Very good.
Yeah. Controlling self. Okay, so we've got a lot of really good stuff here. And I think probably all of that really much describes the official definitions or recognized definitions of emotional intelligence.
Calm and cool to other person and understand their emotions. Yep, absolutely. Being positive, that's part of emotional intelligence, Varun, correct. Control your emotions in taking decisions. Yep.
Evolving into enlightenment. I like that.
Nice. Yeah.
Harvesting hope. Wow.
That is also important.
Deep, yeah.
Very much. Decision making based on empathy. Well, it's part of it. It's not the whole story, but it is most definitely a greater part. Sudi, that's a good point.
It's every aspect of human life, and I think that's really important because we've got to remember we are human beings, okay? And the only thing that really differentiates us from artificial intelligence is emotions, okay? AI can do pretty much everything else. Yeah, we see that AI is becoming more and more prevalent in every aspect of life, but still human beings have got the edge because of emotions. So it's important that we manage it properly. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. So let's just talk about what emotional intelligence is not. You want to do that?
Yeah. So what it is not about is being nice. Being nice. It's not about being nice. Yeah. It's not about being emotional either, or behaving in an overly emotional way. It's not also about personality.
There's a distinction between personality and emotional intelligence, folks. The two juxtapose each other. They sit side by side. but personality tends to categorize people in a certain way, whereas emotional intelligence goes far deeper and it explains why people do what they do. Okay, so it's not quite the same thing.
And it's not the opposite of IQ. It's not the opposite of IQ. These things work together,
Yeah.
So where did it all start, John? Do you want to talk?
Yeah,
about
way back in 1995, Dr. Daniel Goleman wrote this book, and it's still on the shelves today, by the way. It was a New York bestseller. It's a little heavy in some parts when it talks about the brain, but I recommend it. But look at the subtitle. It says emotional intelligence, and the subtitle is why it can matter more than IQ. Now, this was way back in 1995 he wrote this. By the way, this chap is still on the circuit. He's a guru, and he's written many, many other books as well. Highly recommended. So what happened then was that an organization formed called 6 Seconds, about 1998, 1997, sorry, yeah, 1997. And this is where a group of educationalists, psychologists, neuroscientists, and statisticians got together, and very much working from what Dr. Daniel Goleman had written, which was actually based on 2 American professors a few years before who found this. They comprised, so 6 Seconds were formed with Daniel Goleman sitting on the board as well, and also one of those American professors. And this is what they are striving to do. They are working towards a goal of 1 billion people practicing or being aware of emotional intelligence by the year 2039. So this is absolutely fundamental. This is what they want to do. Question was raised when the co-founder came over to Dubai for the summit of the World EQ Summit. Why do you want this to happen? What she said was, because we want the world to be a better place. That was pre-COVID, right? All of that stuff was pre-Barney. So they recognize the need for us to be aware of this stuff. Okay, so here is the 6 Seconds definition. It's a long one, all right? Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your own feelings, blah, blah, blah. It goes all the way there. That is one type of description. And the 2 American professors, their definition went on for 2 pages. But 6 Seconds summarized this by saying this: emotional intelligence is effectively blending thinking and feeling to make optimal decisions. Actually, that's what many of you said.
Yeah.
What many of you said. But there is actually an even smarter way of thinking it, and that's this one. And much more, this is a key takeaway for you. Emotional intelligence is simply be smarter with your feelings. But that requires you to understand what your feelings is. That requires you to stop and think. That requires you to actually question what it is that I'm feeling. And how many of us do that in a day? Not very many.
I think I would just jump in and say here that the worst bit of advice I believe you can be given or you can give to other people is, and I'm sure we've all heard it, leave emotions out of it. It's nonsensical because we can't. Yeah, emotions drive people. What we can do is be smarter with emotions, recognize them and manage them. But we can't say leave them out of it. It actually isn't possible.
Now, the way the brain works, we haven't got time for that, but the way the brain works makes that an impossibility. So we have to best adjust and understand our emotions in order to make the optimal decisions. So what it actually comes down to is, if we just quickly look at the difference between IQ and EQ, you could think about IQ as this is the how. These are all the mechanistic things. These are the technical things. These are the things you learn. By the way, it's very important, of course, is IQ, but EQ is then all about knowing yourself. This is the next, this is the evolution. So just to remind you that, you know, it's about being smarter with your feelings. And it leads to all of these aspects of our lives. research has shown this, by the way. It's constant. It's constant. We have more career success, more success in sports. We become more credible if we understand our emotions, if we practice emotional intelligence. We have greater interpersonal skills, and believe it or not, our quality of life is affected significantly. So those are just some of the aspects of this. But if we look at the business case now, why is this so important? And we looked at this. This was fundamental in HP and so very many other Fortune 500 companies, top companies in the world. They've all looked at this stuff in great detail. So how can we define success? How can we define success? Anybody want to put in the chat just very quickly, what do you think success is? In your view, what do you think success means?
Accomplishment.
Yes.
Yeah. Achievement of objectives. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Achieve our needs.
Achieve our needs, achieving targets.
Reaching
correct.
Goals.
Okay.
Percentage of achievement in any task.
Success, you are contented. Yes. Percentage achievement, achieve self-actualization. Absolutely. And life goals. Happiness. Well done, Marvish. Yeah.
State of fulfillment.
Yeah. Being happier. Absolutely.
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Inner satisfaction. Correct. Something you have set out to achieve. Correct.
Is achievement of God's purpose in one's life.
Yes, absolutely. It's a purpose.
Yeah. You're enjoying what you have.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Development.
You're enjoying what you have. It's your own development. Don't forget, Milad, that's a very, very important point to continually be developing. Being a go-getter and taking risk to achieve your goals. Yes, you can, but it's got to be measured, of course.
Understand yourself.
Understand yourself, Rima. Correct. That's one of the basis of it.
Retirement,
Francis. Completely agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No, Francis.
It's a really good.
Okay, that's excellent. Staff successful. Nice, Turkey. To grow your people. This is fundamental to HR people as well. Help the people to grow, and to leaders, of course. Okay. Achieve your desired outcomes. Happy. All right, let's have a look. Thank you for that. What we have to say, there's many different interpretations of success. Nobody actually said, well, you know, owning a yacht in Dubai Marina is the definition of my success. Now, that is a goal. There's nothing wrong with that, but that isn't actually what life success is really about. You guys have got it. And what 6 seconds do, what we do when we analyze people, we provide assessments for people, we look at how successful they are, and we define them into 4 categories. And this is the business case. How effective are we? How good are we at actually generating positive results? Because that's what we're here for. This is about performance. Okay. What are our relationships like? We're human species. We've got to liaise. We've got to live with people. We've got to interrelate with people. So it's the capacity to build these strong and maintain strong interpersonal connections, fundamental to us. And then, as some of you said, the quality of life.
Happiness.
It's the capacity to create true happiness from a life well lived. And finally, how healthy are we? Nobody actually mentioned that, but it is a factor that is extremely important. Now, these are broken down into more other competencies, actually. But for the purposes of the categorization, how effective are we? What are our relationships like? And if you look at those top 2, you'll see that they are external factors. This is how we appear to people. The quality of life and well-being is internal to us. Only we know really how we feel. So it's both external and internal. But we need to measure, and these are the actual definite broken down. So effectiveness is how influential we are. What's our decision making like? Relationships is how good we are at networking. And so that's anything to do with work, anything to do with work inside or outside of work. Community is everything else. family, friends, religion, societies, clubs. Now, if we look at well-being, then that's health and our balance of life. Life-work balance is fundamentally important. And then the quality of life is about satisfaction and the degree of satisfaction and how well we feel we've achieved. We measure all these things, folks. We have no time to do that now, but this is part and parcel of what we do in deeper studies. So how did we get to one of the factors in this is that 6 seconds a few years ago now, 2016, but the situation has not changed. In actual fact, it's even more significant now. You'll see on the left-hand scale up it's well-being, quality of life, relationships, and effectiveness. On the bottom scale here, it's the scores of emotional intelligence. So what 6 seconds did was they went to 75,000 people, and they asked all over the world. They asked these questions. They talked to various companies, HR people as well. Give us a list of who you consider to be your most successful people, whatever measurements you use. Let us then do an assessment on them, and let's have a look and see what their EQ scores are. Then they went out to a different set of a population and said, okay, let us talk to some of your people, and we will then help you. We will then determine who we think are your most successful people. And if you can see this scale, the little bubbles there is the world population, of course, and it doesn't matter which way they did it. So if you take a score of 100 in terms of success factors, take it across, you'll see that the EQ scores are high. If you take the score equally of 110, you go up and you'll see that the scores are equally as high. So the point about this is that emotional intelligence is a significant factor in success, in predicting success. And IQ is important, of course it is, and we'd use that all the time. But what you'll see in a minute what we say about that. Just as a matter of interest, though, some of you mentioned some of these competencies, but to be effective, we measure a lot of competencies, okay? And somebody mentioned optimism. The most influential EQ competency that impacts effectiveness is optimism. It's not the only one, but it's the most it's the heavyweight really in there. With relationships, as you rightly said before, it's empathy. Quality of life, it's something called intrinsic motivation. We don't have time to go into that, but it's what drives us, what gets us up, what benefit we feel from, what fulfillment we get. And then well-being is increased empathy. Again, interesting, empathy comes into it. So it is very important. Okay, so that's just a matter of interest to you for some of those competencies. Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, to summarize all of this, I quite like what Harvard Business Review say about emotional intelligence. It's a basic tool that deployed with finesse is the key to professional success. So Harvard Business Review, that's their kind of their statement, their position in terms of the importance of emotional intelligence. And just to add on to this, the research that's been done time and time again tells us that emotional intelligence is more than twice is able to predict more than twice as much in terms of performance rather than IQ. So cognitive intelligence accounting for 19% in terms of differentiating star performers, emotional intelligence up there at 44%. So emotional intelligence more than twice as likely to predict success and performance, which gives rise to the phrase, really, John.
Yeah, we always say this. Actually, you get hired for your IQ. That's your CV and everything else that you. But when you go in for an interview, it's either hired or indeed promoted, whatever. It's EQ that gets you promoted, okay? And it's EQ that gets you through the interview as well, by the way. It's how you're perceived. So Now we've got just recently, very, very recently, actually, it was only last week,
Yeah.
when 6 Seconds published their most recent research project, which was, again, to look at the benefits of EQ. And these are hot off the press. So, Catherine, do you want to go through?
We're just going to give you a glimpse of this, some of the facts and figures. There's a lot more detail behind this, but this is what this detailed research study found, that leaders high in emotional intelligence are, get this, 7 times as likely to be high in leadership performance outcomes. Key driver of engagement, emotional intelligence, a key driver of engagement. So organizations, and we're going to give you a couple of case study examples of this shortly. So organizations which prioritize emotional intelligence, really showing massive differences in terms of engagement of people. We know engagement is a key theme for HR leaders. I'm sure of particular interest to you guys. Organizations, again, which prioritize emotional intelligence are 22 times more likely to be at high performance. That's organizations, 22 times. Companies with higher emotional intelligence build better relationships with customers, because of the whole empathy, we know is key to relationship building. So this is going to strengthen trust and drives loyalty internally and externally. And high emotional intelligence, a strong predictor of performance and profitability for leaders, teams, and entire organizations. So running through the different levels there. And the evidence, there's a lot of case studies which are detailed in the report that 6 Seconds have produced. We just want to share 3 of those with you today, 3 which we felt would be of particular interest and relevance to you guys. The first one is from the US Air Force. John, do you want to take it through here?
Yeah, sure. The US Air Force, they certainly in hiring and training, they were having some issues there. And so what they did was identify a study, invest in a study to identify what EQ skills were needed to predict completion of the very demanding training. And as a consequence of that, the US Air Force saved 190 million. By the way, the largest study that's ever been done by for EQ is in the US Navy. It took something like 8 years to do similar savings. But now this is more recent. This is the US Air Force.
Yeah, just to add to this, really, something outside the 6 Seconds research. If any of you guys actually follow Simon Sinek, so he's very much business speaker, writer. He does a lot of work with the US military, and he always says it's not the fittest or the toughest that get through and succeed. It's the ones that relate best to other people. All of this about emotional intelligence. So this kind of fits with this research that 6 Seconds have done in this area. So, case study on productivity, turnover, training costs, Pepsi.
Yeah, pilot program, as it says there, we saw a 10% increase in productivity, 87% decrease in turnover. That's interesting. And we see that in many places as well, where organizations have implemented EQ as part of their curriculum, their training and development, then often retention is much, much greater. Okay, so the overall value to Pepsi there was 30 million. I've actually worked with Pepsi here in the UAE, and we saw similar results on a smaller scale. Okay, Sheraton. You want to...
Yes, so an example from hospitality, a key thing in hospitality. I've done a lot of work in hospitality in different organizations, and it's all about customer guest experience, not what you say, not necessarily what you do, how you make them feel. So obviously, you know, emotional intelligence is a fundamental part of this. So Sheraton, this is based on a study for the organization in Orlando. They actually conducted a significant EQ intervention. This resulted in 19.6% reduction in unwanted employee turnover. Again, key thing that the HR people are interested in, reducing the employee turnover. Also 8.4% increase in guest satisfaction and a 23.4% increase in market share. So on all the 3 measures, clearly was heralded as a huge success. So they're just 3 examples of case studies which really support the business case for emotional intelligence. We're just going to move on now to look at very briefly.
Yeah, this is we have to have a very, very quick look at this because we haven't got the time. But essentially, this is the 6 seconds emotional intelligence model. It's called the SAY. Many people throughout the world have done this. It's an assessment that you do, and it's all about knowing yourself, choosing yourself, and giving yourself. And you'll see this circle. It doesn't go round in a circle, it's just depicted that way. But there are other competencies within that we can't talk about, but every one of those are related to know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself. So remember, 6 seconds, emotional intelligence, being smarter with feelings. The blue bit, knowing yourself, is about being more aware of your feelings. How good are you?
Can we just put everybody onto mute, please?
Yeah, thank you. How good are you at knowing yourself? Some people are better than others. There's no right and wrong in this. It's what we are. Some people can actually avoid reacting and be more intentional in the way they behave. And some people will be driven by vision, by more purpose, knowing what they want out of life. So just to paraphrase that then, what am I feeling? What options do I have? And what do I really want? Now, we cannot go into this in great detail because these are all the competencies that we normally go through. We're just going to pick one, actually, in this, which is fundamentally important. It starts, the whole aspect of EQ starts with enhanced emotional intelligence. Enhanced emotional literacy. That's in the blue bit there. You can see it. What is that? That's how well you know yourself. Know yourself. So we're just going to pick the one competency, and this is actually mapping onto what Aristotle said. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, several thousand years ago. So how aware are you of your own emotions? And how aware are you of the emotions of others? And many of you said this was important in EQ terms. Okay, Catherine, let's do the exercise.
So let's just have a little look at how we could start to think about this. Yeah, we're just starting you off on one very, very small, simple activity to how we'd actually get into examining ourselves. So what we're going to do now, we're going to give you just 1 minute, okay, challenge time. We're just going to give you 1 minute to write down as many emotions as you can think of. Write down the names of as many emotions you can think of in any language you want to do. Yeah, we're not going to ask you to tell us what you've written down, but for your own sake, just write down as many emotions as you can think of in 1 minute. And your time starts now.
Happy.
Yeah.
"30 seconds. "15. 5.
Okay, time's up there. So let's ask people. Oh, we've got many people have actually written down, and we've got some images there. Fantastic. Yeah, we've got quite a number. All right, let's just do a quick poll. Let's do a quick poll. Time for another poll, I think. Okay. I'm going to launch this poll now, and we're going to ask you to just tell us. Obviously, it's anonymous, so we're not going to identify any of these answers with anybody. You should see a poll in front of you on the screen. How many emotions did you write down? Was it between 1 and 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, or over 21? Just
Now, there's no right and wrong answer here. We're all different, folks, so be honest with yourselves.
Just tick the one that most is like your
38 responses.
47. It's going up.
Yep, yep, yep.
What should I do?
Just tick the box that is your response and submit it. That's all you
However
have to
many
do.
emotions you were able to write down.
No right or wrong.
No right or wrong answers in any of this. Okay, we're all of us different.
Okay, I think we've got quite a number of responses in there. So let's just publish that. Yeah.
It's looking like
It's done. Okay.
My chat box is not working.
Sorry.
Chat box is not working.
Okay, I don't know why it's not working. I'm seeing it working here. I'm not sure why it's not working.
we've got a lot of responses already,
Yeah.
so on the chat.
Okay, let's just see what we've got here.
Can we publish?
Don't know if it'll let me do that. What we can tell you from what we're seeing, you might be able to see this in front of you, you might not. We're seeing that just 10% of the group have written down between 1 and 5 emotions. 47%, so almost half the group, between 6 and 10. 32%, just under a third, 11 to 15. 11% of the group between 16 to 20, and just 1% of the group 21 plus. So we've got somebody there who's indicated 21 plus. Well done. Well done.
This follows exactly the pattern that we always see when we do this. And I mentioned that I did an exercise in Pakistan one time. The most we've ever had is a lady in Pakistan. She got 39 emotions in 1 minute, and can you believe that? And they were all in English as well. It was incredible. I checked them and they were all right. So it just means that that person or the people with the higher scores are more in touch with their emotions. And so this is a bit of self-awareness. Maybe those of us who are not, we need to stop and think about that. What am I feeling a little bit more? Okay.
And I guess the next question then is, of the emotions that you wrote down there, where would they sit in this model? Now, there are lots of different models of emotions. This is just one of them. You might be aware of it, SIMFOTIX model. And this shows how we can categorize emotions in terms of the type of emotion and in terms of intensity of emotion. So if you look at the pinky red group there, yeah, over to the left-hand side, we've got a kind of a mild form of this emotion where you might be a little bit annoyed, irritated, rising up in intensity through anger, and then in an extreme form, rage. So it can be helpful for us to think about our emotions in terms of type and intensity of emotion. Okay, so let's just do one I know we're running a little bit out of time, but just one more question to ask of you now. What emotions are you feeling right now? Right now. So I want you to just now think of one word which would describe your emotion or emotion right now. Okay, I'm going to launch what we're calling a word cloud. And I think what we do here is you just type into what you should see on the screen in front of you, the word which might describe your emotion right now. And let's see what we've got as a group.
It will be anonymous, so
Yeah,
don't worry.
again, it's anonymous, yeah. Okay, we've got a nice word cloud evolving here.
Wow.
Oh, seeing some nice words, some nice emotions here.
Relaxed. That's good news. Indifferent.
Okay, numb, happy, sleepy, informative, friendly,
Anxious.
enlightened. Okay. Blessed, thoughtful, relaxed, informative, attentive, self-curiosity,
Happy.
thoughtful, glad,
Enlightened.
relaxed, enlightened.
Confused. I don't blame you for whoever wrote that, because it can be with just this introduction. Yeah.
Calm. Calm's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grief.
So we see there quite a lot of
self-doubt. Yep. Normal.
Yeah.
Sleepy.
Okay. Overwhelmed.
Friendly.
That might be with our session, or it might be with life in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. But what we see there is that people are being able to identify their emotions. But do we always stop and think about this? You know, how can I describe how I'm best feeling right now? And this is just a little exercise in seeing that we've got a group of people here all doing the same thing, but lots of different emotions. And are we stopping to think about other people that we're working with or interacting with, and what might be their different emotions in the same situation?
So this little exercise is the very start of understanding emotional intelligence, and you've just done that. We don't often spend time thinking about what emotions we're feeling. Some people do, but some people don't. So there's just that's just an example. That's not a result.
Not the result of this one, though.
Okay, so folks, we've come to the end.
Why is this important, though?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, why is it important?
Oh, yeah. We've got to think about this. The reason that psychologists tell us that it's so important to be able to name our feelings and our emotions. If you can name an emotion, you can start to tame an emotion. It means you can work with it. You can start to understand what is going to happen next. That's the red bit in choosing yourself. If you've got a good idea of how you're feeling, you can actually do something with it. You can tame it. That's what psychologists and neuroscientists tell us. So stop. What am I feeling? That's the very first stage. That brings it back to some logic, and then you can start to work with that emotion. This is the start of the journey on emotional literacy, on emotional intelligence. Okay, so what have we done in this brief hour? We looked at the background to why this is so important, the Barney world, all of those things there that you can see. We know now, don't we, that 80 to 85% of decisions are based on emotion for all of us. EQ, it's up to 10 times smarter, being smarter with feelings, and 10 times more important than IQ. Okay, so the business case for IQ, we had a look at that. And then very quickly glimpsed at the 6 seconds model. Now, the reason that we did that is we do an assessment on this, so we can actually ask people questions, and they fill out an assessment, and you get a score for which is your strength. Either know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself, and what it all means. But we don't have time to do that now. So remember, folks, emotions are driving us. We run on emotion, and people drive performance. As Catherine said, we cannot ignore emotions. The best decisions are made with emotions, contrary to what anybody may tell you. We need emotions to make good decisions because we can't avoid it.
We just have to make sure that we're controlling and managing.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, so in summary, we say keep calm and control your emotions.
As best you can. Yeah.
Now, does anybody have any questions? I know we're kind of pretty much running out of time, but we're happy to actually answer questions if anybody's got any questions. Any questions at all? Go back onto the chat. Any questions? So we're getting in some. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from anybody?
Thank you, Sushma.
Any questions? Okay. Why is the target audience as HR? Only HR today. That's what we were told, that today was about HR. The reality is HR is relevant for everybody in any organization. We were told that today this was about HR leaders, which is why we chose some of the research stats and some of the case studies as relevant, but EQ is relevant for everybody.
Everybody, even in your own private life, of course.
Yeah.
So folks, I hope this has given you a bit of a glimpse.
Okay, so question here, John. How can you control yourself to express inside emotion?
You've got to understand it first, and then you invoke empathy. You go to that one which you highlighted, how you can control yourself. And then when you talk about and be honest, very, very honest, but without being aggressive. Not easy to do for some people, but that's how you do it. Stop, think, and then what we call think, feel, act. You think about what you're saying, how's that making you feel, and then you stop yourself and you act appropriately. But if you need to divulge your emotions, that's not a problem. Yeah, as long as you don't, you use that objectively.
I think one of the key words that John used there is stop. stop, don't react, wait. Yeah, take a pause and think about what you really want. What are your options? What do you really want? And if we think about assertive behavior is appropriately expressing your views, your opinions, your thoughts, what you need with respect for the other party. So this is where communication and emotional intelligence work together.
Exactly right. Yeah. You don't actually even need to express your emotions, as if you understand them, then take the step to act with more intention. Then you're on the way to understanding and increasing your own emotional intelligence. Okay. Any others?
Questions? I think that's
what
good.
sort of activities managers can do in a workplace to grow emotional intelligence within a workplace? Oh, okay, that's a big question, Safe. We do this all the time, but to be more understanding, to be approachable, okay, to exercise empathy, ask questions, listen to people. Empathy begins by listening and not jumping in and being judgmental. So that's a very quick answer. There's lots of answers, but try not to be judgmental. Listen and be approachable. That's what you have to do.
Another question here. If your colleagues perceive you as an emotional or resistant individual, how would you address this perception and modify your behavior accordingly?
Oh, that's another good question. And then you have to be open, actually. And again, how approachable are you? Discuss it. And then you have to try your best to deal with that. But there's no shame in it. Okay, as good leaders, we're all vulnerable in some respect. And if that's what perspective others have, a view of us, then we discuss it with those people. And as we say, stop, think, feel, and act. You can regulate. If you're asking someone same language, and the person is not responding, not talking. That's a good question. If you're asking someone same language and the person is not responding, what is the best response, and why is the person not responding properly? Is this person can be perceived as he or she is problematic? Could be. It could be that they're they lack confidence. It could be actually that they lack what we call intrinsic motivation, and it could be your own approach. It could be that you're not the best. They don't perceive you necessarily as being approachable. So that's about empathy. Ask questions. Who asked that question? Ask questions. How can we move? What is it that you're feeling? What is troubling you? How can we move this forward together? What can I do to help you? All those kind of questions.
Okay, this is a really good question. Isn't IQ and EQ equally needed for promotions? Yes.
Yep.
Not sure how EQ is more important. Yeah, if a person is not capable to perform a great job or lacks communication skills, but is in full control of their emotions, they're still not going to be promoted. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I would think IQ and EQ are equally important. Maybe I need to read the book. Okay.
Pinto, yeah, it is a good idea. Now, this is a common consensus, by the way. It's not just 6 seconds. So very many people, including Deloitte and a whole lot of people, have actually come to the same conclusion. And it's not to say, by the way, that IQ is not important. You're completely right. IQ is fundamentally important. You cannot be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever, unless you studied something, or an HR professional, or anything you do. You need that. But it's how you deal with people that is fundamental thereafter.
Can I just share I know we're running out of time, but this very simple example brought this home to me. I have a friend who runs a medical centre, a dentist and doctor facility, and she employs a number of people, all of whom have got the very best qualifications. They've studied at the top medical institutions through the world. She wouldn't recruit them unless they had. So technically, they know exactly what they're doing, each and every one of them. But she couldn't understand why some of them were permanently booked up, calendars booked solid, patients waiting to see them, working from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, 6 days a week, where others, over half of their diaries were empty. We did a little bit of work in understanding, what is it? What are the differences? And the differences we saw were that the ones that were not good at relating to people, showing empathy, and all these EQ competencies were the ones which over half of the diaries were free. The ones that had a high EQ, the way that they interacted with people, communication skills, empathy, all of this were the ones that were permanently busy. So if we look at success in terms of high demand for them as individuals, and if we look at success in terms of financials, these are the people that were earning more. And they were earning more because they were being paid, you know, in terms of what they delivered. It came down to the differences in EQ. There was nothing different. They were not differentiated in terms of their functional training and expertise. It came down to the way that they deal with people.
Yep.
Okay, now I just wonder, we've got a lot of questions here. Kazi, Hiba, are we out of time? Are we okay to carry on and answer questions? I don't want to overstep in terms of time. Kazi?
I think you can have some brief answers if you can take some questions and from the
Okay.
chat and give some brief answer, because we are already running out of time. People might have to join.
All right, let's just in no particular kind of priority order. How to come out of the stress of time pressure at work. I would say that's a whole other area in terms of time management, but emotional intelligence comes into that. So if we were running for you, your organization, a program in time management, there's a whole section of that course which is about emotional intelligence, because it comes into everything. Yeah. So time pressure is looking at how you manage yourself, both in terms of your task prioritization and systems, but also how you're managing yourself emotionally, and so on, along with communication skills and all of those things. Yeah.
This is a good question. If you started a company today, what would its top values be?
Wow. If we started one.
Yeah, if we started one. Well, actually, I think you'll find that the most successful companies in the world embrace empathy. They have to that is understanding. Okay, it is very much about understanding, and it is very much about the whole concept of EQ being at the basis of so much investment and training. So most definitely interpersonal skills, soft skills, and empathy is at the heart of that. Okay.
Could you conduct this training at my workplace? Yes, we can do that. Kazi, can you make a note of that?
Yes, definitely. This is a very good question. I love this question. Definitely, we have been doing these trainings in several banks and corporate sectors. So after the program, if you can drop us a line, and Hiba, if you can please note down the participant name, and we will contact you for sure. This is one of the very overwhelming responses we are getting for John's EQ for leadership training, along with the profile assessment part from 6 seconds.
The other thing that I would say, I do a lot of training for people conducting interviews and things like job description writing and so on, and more and more and more space being taken by emotional intelligence. Yeah. So actually exploring the individuals, the candidates, emotional intelligence levels, interest, and all of those things. So it really is becoming a very, very hot topic.
Okay, it is.
Any more? We've got time for, I think that's
it.
I think we're pretty much there. Yeah.
Thank
you
so
everybody for your great contributions.
There's just one here that I see this one has come up 3 times. How does EQ help describe our job?
How does emotional intelligence help to describe our job? Okay, sometimes we ask the question, describe yourself in 1 or 3 words. Yeah. So one of the, if I was to, and as Catherine said, we do a lot with careers and interviewing, trustworthy. Okay. So if you're trustworthy, that actually embellishes so much when we go out into detail on what is trust, so much EQ, and you can see how it breaks down. But it's no surprise to you that the fundamental element of trust is actually empathy. So you could say, I am, you know, who is it? Christiana says, how does EQ help describe our job? Well, you could say I'm firm but fair. In fact, as a leader, I'm firm, but I'm very fair, because it doesn't stop you from being firm. Yeah, EQ has nothing to do with that. It's about leadership, but being fair by hearing people, talking to people, being approachable, motivating people, getting people to understand change, all of these things. It's about motivation, actually.
And the other thing I would add, if
Before
you
I
are
forget,
human resources.
John, if you can stop sharing the screen, and before I forget, we have to take a screenshot of the participants like we take a group photo. So if we can all open our cameras, I would like to take a group photo. We can post it on our LinkedIn and yes, recording. So while you are opening your cameras, I will just answer some questions I saw there. We will share the recording after the sessions. The plan is we have just started in another team's account and window our last session on agile project management. It has just started before 10 minutes. So once we are done with all of this today, we are planning to send all the 6 recording in one email. Just give us time over the weekend. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we had 6 sessions. We are planning to send you all the recordings in one email. After this meeting, you will see a recording link in the chat. It will not work because it will ask authorization. So it will not work. Oh, so many people have opened the cameras. Great.
Nice. Yeah.
It's nice. So I will press print the screen. Just wave your hands with a happy smile and let
Brilliant.
me press it.
But we should do this, shouldn't we? Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh, if you have another idea, yes, we can do that. But if it is with 2 hands, I cannot take a
Okay,
screenshot.
all right, let's do
But,
that.
yeah, but
I'll
you can
just
do
do
it.
this.
So
Yeah.
what were you doing, Catherine? It's like,
The heart,
Thank
emotional
you.
intelligence from the heart.
oh, the emotional intelligence. Is it like this? Is it like this or what?
Like that.
امبارح
Heart.
كان بيقول اهلا رمضان
Heart with your
خلاص
fingers.
اليوم
Yeah, we do that.
And I'm doing positive.
خلاص العشر دقائق
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. We hereby formally conclude the session. Please fill in the feedback forms. It is really important for us for our future
you so much.
programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and it's unfortunate we could not access the chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. احنا مش فاهمينها استنى
Thank you
احنا
all.
بس نخش
Bye.
كده. دقيقة ما في فايدة
Okay, so people have unmuted themselves. We can hear your private chats. Mute yourself. If you are in the office, we can hear the everything.
ايش المصيبة؟ اوكي شكرا